Where do you go after death? The Buddhism's answer. Who are you before you ask where you'll go? Where do you go after death? It's one of the most natural questions a human being can ask. We're not just curious about what happens next. We want something clear. A destination, a name, a place we can imagine. Heaven, hell, nothingness, rebirth. Each idea tries to point to a final answer. But before we ask where we go, we have to ask a more urgent question. Who is the you that goes? This isn't a riddle or a philosophical trick. It's the most direct place to begin. We assume there is someone inside, the one who feels, thinks, chooses. Like a passenger riding inside the body, we believe that even if the body breaks down, the one inside will step out and continue the journey. This belief is not foolish. It's deeply human. Even great philosophers held this view. René Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am," identifying himself with the thinking mind, as if the true self was a silent witness behind every thought. But is that really what we are? Let's not try to solve this with belief. Instead, we'll look directly into our own experience. No need to trust anyone, just observe quietly. Look inside right now, without judgment, without imagination. You'll find thoughts, yes, but they don't last. One comes, another replaces it. Emotions appear and disappear. Sensations in the body shift constantly. Try to find something solid, something unchanging, and you won't. What you'll find is movement, a flow, a process that never quite stays still. This might be the most important discovery in the entire journey. The Buddha pointed to this in the Anattalakkhana Sutta, when he taught that body, feeling, perception, formations, and consciousness, what we think of as me, are all impermanent, changing, and beyond control. If something is always changing and not under our command, can it truly be called a self? Still, this leads to confusion. If there's no fixed self, does that mean nothing continues? Is death the end of everything? Not quite. Think of a flame passed from one candle to the next. There's no solid thing that travels, but something continues. The fire, the spark, the pattern, or like a wave that rises on the ocean. Not made of new water, not made of old water, but still clearly rising. The wave is not a permanent entity, yet its movement continues. In the same way, what continues after death is not a soul, but the force of habits, karmic momentum, moving forward. It's not a mystical idea, it's lawful. The Buddha did not teach a hidden substance inside us. He taught that our intentions, actions, and mental tendencies shape what happens next. These are not decorations on the outside of a soul. They are the stream itself. So, if there's no solid passenger, no unchanging me, then what guides the stream? What shapes its direction? What determines where it flows after death? That brings us to our next step, not the traveler, but the compass. What shapes the path after death? Now that we've seen there's no fixed self moving through time, we're left with a flowing stream of experience, thoughts, feelings, habits, unfolding moment to moment. But this raises a deeper question. If there's no solid traveler, what gives the stream its direction? What determines where the current flows next? Every natural process has a principle behind it, a force that guides its movement. In Buddhism, that guiding force is called karma. But this word has been widely misunderstood. It's often thought of as a cosmic system of rewards and punishments, like an invisible judge keeping score. That's not how the Buddha explained it. To understand karma clearly, we return to his original words in the Anguttara Nikaya. It is volition, cetana, monks, that I call karma. In other words, karma is intention. It's the mental impulse that arises before action, a subtle but decisive movement of the mind that directs how we think, speak, and act. It's not mystical. It's immediate. It happens every time we make a choice, even a small one. This is the compass of the mind, and it's calibrated through repetition. Every time you act with a certain kind of intention, you reinforce that direction inside yourself. With time, that direction becomes familiar. It becomes your default. If you consistently respond to others with kindness, then kindness becomes easier. If you regularly fall into irritation, that becomes the path of least resistance. We can observe this directly. Think back to a recent moment of generosity, even something small, like holding a door open. Before the action, there was a slight movement of goodwill, a soft opening. That is cetana. Now think of a moment of frustration. The mental energy was different, tighter, more reactive. That too is karma. Each moment of intention sets a direction. Each direction adds up. Over time, these moments form a strong tendency, a mental inclination, like water flowing down a worn path. Just as a compass needle aligns to magnetic north, our minds begin to align with the kinds of intentions we repeat. The more we cultivate qualities like patience, clarity, or compassion, the more naturally our mind leans in those directions. Let's take a simple example. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You have a choice. Option 1. You pause and think, "May that person be safe." Option 2. You clench your jaw and wish them harm. The event is the same, but the intention you respond with shapes your mind differently. It's like tuning the dial of your consciousness. With each response, your internal compass becomes more set, either toward peace or toward conflict. But it's crucial to understand this teaching without distortion. Karma is not fate. Not everything that happens to us is the result of our past actions. The Buddha made this very clear in the Sivaka Sutta. Many conditions shape our experience: biology, environment, accident, chance. Karma is just one of them. So we must never use this idea to blame others for their suffering. That's why the Buddha emphasized, in the Kalama Sutta, the importance of personal understanding. Don't accept teachings just because they're repeated often. Observe for yourself. Which intentions lead to clarity, and which ones lead to confusion? Which create peace, and which cause harm? Karma is not a law of punishment. It is a mirror. It shows us the direction we are moving in, and gives us the power to choose differently. What are the realms of rebirth? Having understood that there is no fixed self but only a flow of consciousness shaped by intention, we now arrive at a natural question. Where does this process lead? If karma sets the direction, what is the destination? Buddhism presents a map of existence that includes 6 primary realms. These are not places in physical space, but states of experience shaped by the quality of the mind. The lower realms correspond to deeply unwholesome mental states. The so-called hell realm, for example, is the lived reality of a mind overwhelmed by hatred. It is not imposed from outside, but arises from within. The hungry ghost realm reflects a mind consumed by craving, always grasping, never satisfied. The animal realm represents states of fear, instinct, and ignorance. Though these realms are traditionally illustrated as literal rebirths, they also function as psychological realities we can observe within this very life. Above these are the higher realms. The heaven realm is a state of joy and ease born from generous and ethical conduct. But this happiness is still temporary. More significant in Buddhist thought is the human realm. Though it involves both pleasure and pain, it offers something rare, the potential for awakening. As the Buddha noted, this balance of joy and difficulty creates the right conditions for deep reflection. Extreme pleasure, such as in heavenly realms, often leads to complacency. Extreme suffering leads to despair. But the human experience lies in the middle. It is fragile, but fertile. For those engaged in meditation, the Buddha described the cosmos in even more detail. 31 planes of existence, found in early Abhidhamma texts like the Dhammasangani. These realms are not defined by physical comfort, but by the level of consciousness they reflect. Some are sensual realms like ours. Others are more refined, the result of mastering meditation. A person who develops the first jhana, for instance, may be reborn in the Brahma world. This is not a reward, but the natural continuation of a focused and purified state of mind. In these higher realms, beings no longer rely on physical form as we know it. Their bodies, if we can still call them that, are made of subtle mind matter, reflecting the clarity and serenity of the meditative state that gave rise to them. Beyond these are the immaterial realms, where even form disappears. In the dimension of nothingness, 𝐂𝐴𝐻𝐿𝐿, for example, consciousness exists with almost no mental activity, just pure, spacious awareness. But even this, the highest realm of formless absorption, is still conditioned. It too will pass. Here lies a central insight. These realms are not places we go to like destinations on a map. They are manifestations of mind. They arise based on causes and conditions, as explained in the principle of dependent origination, paticca samuppada. A mind full of anger gives rise to a hell-like experience. A mind of deep stillness gives rise to a refined plane of peace. These states are not somewhere else. They are already present in potential, within our own consciousness. What we call rebirth is not a soul moving from one body to another. It is the arising of a new stream of experience based on the last moment of the previous one. Just as a flame lights another without transferring substance, so consciousness conditions consciousness. At death, the mind does not choose a destination. It simply continues in accordance with the tendencies it has cultivated. It enters the realm it is most attuned to, not through decision, but through alignment. In truth, we touch these realms every day. A moment of violent rage is a glimpse of the hell realm. A moment of deep generosity is a glimpse of the heavenly. These are not poetic metaphors, but real states of mind. The seeds of every rebirth lie within our current experience. And by understanding this, we see that liberation is not about escaping the world, but about transforming the mind that creates it. What happens in the last moment of consciousness? In Buddhist understanding, Death is not the end of consciousness, but a moment of profound transition. To grasp what truly happens when one leaves this life, we must look carefully, not just at the body, but at the mind's final movements. These are not abstract ideas, but precise mental events described clearly in the Abhidhamma. Let us begin with the physical process, then follow it through to the very last thought. The body, in Buddhist analysis, is not a permanent self, but a fragile combination of 4 elements: earth, water, fire, and air. At death, these elements gradually dissolve. The earth element weakens first, leading to a sensation of heaviness. Then water dries up, mouth and lips crack. The fire element cools, and warmth fades from the body. Finally, the air element dissolves, and the breath stops. This physical dissolution is visible, but something more subtle is also unfolding. If the mind remains clear, unclouded by strong drugs or overwhelming pain, it can become highly lucid at the edge of death. In this clarity, one experiences a final karmic impression. This is not random. It appears according to one's past actions. Buddhist texts describe 3 types of visions that can arise at this point. Kama, a vivid memory of a strong past deed. Kama nimitta, a symbolic image tied to one's habits or profession, like a butcher seeing knives or a monk seeing robes. Gati nimitta, a sign of the next place of rebirth, which could be a visual image or, in higher realms, a non-visual state of awareness, such as a feeling of vast openness. But the most critical transition happens not in visions, but in the split-second mental activity that follows. According to the Abhidhamma, a rapid series of 7 thought moments, called Maranasana Javana, arises. These flashes of mind are ethically potent. They are either wholesome, kusala, or unwholesome, akusala, and they shape the quality of the next birth. Even if a negative vision appears, if these Javana moments are wholesome, they can override the image. If no strong vision comes, then the mind falls back on habitual karma, shaped by one's most repeated tendencies in life. After these Javana moments, the final mental event in this life occurs. The kuti-citta, the death consciousness. This is not a volitional act. It is passive. It registers the final object, like a quiet witness. Importantly, it is not a soul leaving the body. It is simply the last moment of awareness conditioned by karma. A result, vipaka, not a cause. And then, immediately and without a gap, a new moment of consciousness arises. This is the patisandhi vijnana, or rebirth-linking consciousness. It takes the same object as the kuti-citta, but this new consciousness is not the same as the old one. It arises due to conditions, not because something has moved from here to there. Like all things in dependent origination, this is a conditioned arising, instantaneous, empty of self, yet fully lawful. This is why Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of the final moment. The mind at death is not random. It follows causes, and its state can shape lifetimes. A peaceful, mindful, and ethical life lays down the conditions for a peaceful, mindful, and fortunate rebirth. That is why creating a calm environment around the dying person is so important. As the Buddha taught in suttas like the Mahakama Vibhanga, the mind's condition at death truly matters. Even a moment of agitation can turn the tide towards suffering. The final answer: beyond maps and destinations. We've now reached the end of our investigation. We've looked into the idea of a traveler and found no fixed self, only a stream of mental and physical processes. We examined the compass and saw it is shaped by intention, by karma. We looked at the destination and saw it isn't a place, but a mental landscape. And when we examined arrival, we found no final stop, just a new conditioned arising. Everything points to one conclusion. Where do you go after death? The most accurate answer is nowhere. That may sound strange at first, but think carefully. Going, traveler, destination, these are just ideas, convenient labels. They're not ultimate truths. What actually happens is this: the flow of consciousness, driven by karma, ends one chapter and instantly begins another, based on the mental impressions carried at the final moment. It's not that you move from one room to another, it's more like a new scene being projected on the same screen. What continues is not you, but the process itself. This understanding flips the question. It's no longer about where you'll go. The real question becomes, what vision are you creating right now? What kind of mental scenery will appear at the end of this life because of the way you're living today? Every realm, every rebirth, even the highest heavens, are still part of samsara, this cycle of birth and death, driven by clinging and confusion. None of these are permanent destinations. They are temporary stopovers in a journey that never ends, unless something fundamental changes. That's where the Buddha's teaching becomes unique. He didn't just describe the map, he offered a way out of the map. That way is nibbana, often translated as extinction, but not of life, not of self, because those were never fixed to begin with. It is the extinguishing of ignorance and craving. As the Buddha said in the Udana, there is, monks, a realm where there is no earth, no water, no fire, no wind, neither this world nor the next. This, I say, is the end of suffering. Nibbana is not nothingness. It is unconditioned peace. It cannot be found by moving to another place. It can only be realized by transforming your relationship with this very moment. So we must be honest about the words we use: destination, going, after death. These are just ways of speaking. The deeper truth lies beyond language, and yet there is a path we can follow, step by step. The Buddha called it the Noble Eightfold Path, a training that touches every part of our life. It starts with ethical living, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. It deepens with mental cultivation, right effort, mindfulness, and concentration. And it is completed with wisdom, right view, and right intention. This path isn't abstract philosophy, it's practical. You can begin right now. Not tomorrow, not in your next life, but in the next breath. Ask yourself, is this intention rooted in generosity or in grasping? In kindness or in anger? In clarity or confusion? Because in the end, there is no fixed destination. There is only this unfolding moment, shaped by your mind. And that is where the real transformation begins.